Today we're going to look at the section 5.2 calculator. So you are going to need a calculator in your hand. We're going to try to talk through it on the screen because then when we're in class together, we'll practice more with the calculators. But I want you to be able to practice here at home along with the video. Okay, so we're going to evaluate trig functions with a calculator in this lesson. So, evaluating trig functions with a calculator. You should have a calculator that has sine, cosine, and tangent buttons. Okay, it's going to be very crucial when evaluating that we know whether or not our calculator is dealing with degrees or radians because we have to have the calculator in the correct mode. Okay, so a lot of the times you probably right now have your calculator in degree mode. That's because all of the types of problems that you've done in the past, especially like last year, maybe when you did trig and geometry, you were just using degrees. But now we have this new way of measuring angles with radians. So there's going to be a mode that we're going to have to switch back and forth with. Okay, so to evaluate now those three new trig functions of cosecant, secant, and cotangent, we're going to have to remember the following. Remember, cosecant relates to sine. They are reciprocals of each other. So anytime I want us to use the calculator and I see cosecant, we don't have a button for cosecant. So we're going to use the sine button, but we have to do 1 divided by sine. And then that's the same thing with secant, whose reciprocal is cosine, and cotangent, whose reciprocal is tangent. All right, so we're going to use the calculator to find the value to 4 decimal places. Once again, notice that it's going to be critical that we look to see if we are in degrees or if we are in radians. Notice that in these first two examples, I see a degree symbol. That means you need to make sure that if you click on the button mode, now once again, a lot of people's calculators might be a little bit different, but there is a mode button. In a lot of them, they're next to the second button. You want to make sure that if you click mode, that you have the 3 letters of DEG highlighted. That's for degree. Okay, that's the mode that we want for these first two because we have degree symbols. Okay, so we want to have it in degrees because then with the first button, okay, the first problem, sine of 72.8, well, that shouldn't be bad. We have a sine button in our calculator. So type the button sine and then type in 72.8 and hit enter. And once again, it says to round to 4 decimal places. So we should be getting then 0.9553. If you're not getting in that in the calculator, maybe you're not in the degree mode, or remember, don't hit second sign. We just want the sign button there. Okay. In the next one, we have cotangent of 19 degrees. Cotangent is not a button that we have on the calculator. So remember, cotangent relates to tangent. So we are going to have to do 1 over the tangent of 19 degrees. Okay, or another way in your calculator, it's 1 divided by the tangent of 19. But once again, this is degrees, so we should have the calculator in degree mode. So if we do 1 divided by tangent of 19, when you type that into the calculator, we should be getting 2.9042 when we're rounding to 4 decimal places. So once again, if you are not doing your calculator right now, please get your calculator and pause the video and try to make sure you're getting these decimals. Okay, and then if you have a question, reach out to me. I'll make sure that I'm checking my messages. Okay, notice that the next 2 problems do not have degree symbols. That means that these are in radians. So that means we have to hit the mode button again. And when we hit the mode button, we have to, the very top line, we need to arrow over and hit enter. So then RAD, which stands for radians, we need it to be in radian mode. Okay, once it's in radian mode, now we can go ahead and calculate. So cosecant, remember, is the same thing as the reciprocal of sine. So I want 1 divided by the sine of 1.5. So once again, Couple different ways you can type it into the calculator, but we need to be in radian mode in order for this to be successful. So rounding to 4 decimal places here, we should be getting 1.0025. Okay, if you're not getting these, please let me know. The next one is cosine of pi over 12. So cosine is a button we already have in the calculator. Pi is a button that we already have in the calculator. So use the pi button, but hit cosine pi divided by 12. It's in radian mode. If your calculator, okay, so some of your calculators might be then giving you this, which is an exact answer. Okay, obviously, like the directions say, I don't want this, I want 4 decimal places. So if you hit the button right above enter where it has like the 2 arrows, then it'll convert it into decimals for us. Okay, some calculators might not get it into that exact mode. They might already spit out the calculator decimal, which is 0.9659. Okay, so it's going to be crucial that we can switch very easily back and forth between degree and radian mode. Okay, so finding angle measures with trig, remember the sine, cosine, and tangent buttons, those help you when you're talking about finding side lengths. But here, if I want to find an angle measure, then we want to use the inverse button. So that little sine to the negative first or cosine to the negative first. So it's second sine or second cosine in our calculator. Okay, once again, it's going to be important that we know, are we in degree mode or radian mode? We have to switch back and forth very easily. All right, so let's go ahead and it says let's use the calculator to find the values of an acute angle to the nearest degree. Okay, so if the directions are asking for us to have a degree, I need to go to the mode button, and once again, on the top line, I need to have it where it is highlighted as DEG. So I have to then hit enter to have it highlighted to know I'm in degree mode. Okay, cosine is a button that's already in our calculator, so I'm going to hit the cosine button and do 0.4381. And if it's asking to round to the nearest degree, okay, notice that this is a super, super small number. It's actually going to be 1 degree because it was really 0.999970767. If you didn't see that really small decimal, then maybe you're not in degree mode. Okay, the next one is tangent. Once again, we have a tangent button, so you're going to hit the, oh, I'm sorry, you know what? I totally made a mistake there. We have to do the inverse. That's why I was getting a small number. So you have to do second sine, or second cosine, I mean, and then you have to do this. Okay, so sorry, we're finding an angle. You do second cosine, so I want that little inverse button. And then I do the 0.4381. So then rounding, that should give me a 64 degree angle. Okay, so sorry, I had to make sure you're finding angles. I want the inverse button. Okay, so tangent, same thing. We're talking degrees, and so it's in degree mode. But because I want to find an angle, I have to hit second tangent, and then I'll type in that 42.1185. Okay, so when I do second tangent, 42.1185, and I want to round to the nearest decimal, or sorry, nearest whole number, we have 88.6, which tells me that I want an 89 degree angle. Okay, notice that the next set of problems, it says use the calculator to find the angle in radians. So that means I'm going to my mode, and I need to highlight the radian value there. Okay, so once I have that highlighted and I'm in radians on my calculator, then for sine, I have to do second sine, so I get the little inverse button, and then we can do our 0.9344, and it says round to 3 decimal places. So second sine, 0.9344. Rounding to 3 decimal places, we should be getting 1.207 because it's 6.5, so that means that the 5 is rounding the 6 up. Finally here, tangent. Remember, we have to do secant tangent to get the inverse button there. And then I can type in my decimal. Once again, we'll round to 3 decimal places. And we should be getting 0.528 because it was really 7.5 and the 5 rounds the 7 up. Okay, so those are my radian values. The 2 at the top are my degrees. All right, so here I want you to try it. Once again, make sure you're looking at the problem carefully. You're going to have to switch back and forth between degrees and radians. Okay, this is what we should be getting. If I'm talking about finding the value to 4 decimal places, remember, if I'm giving you the degree symbol, we're not finding the angle, so you're going to have to do secant would be 1 divided by the cosine of this 23.6, but you have to be in degree mode in your calculator to get that decimal. Because we're dealing with pi's, that means that we need to be in radians for the next one. Once again, you're just hitting the tangent button, 2 pi divided by 3, and that should get you your negative 1.7321. Okay, notice that in this third example, if we're talking degrees, I need to switch back to the degree mode. But remember, this time I'm finding the angle, so we need to use that inverse button to get the 58 degrees. Switch back to then radians for the last one, so we want to be in radians. And remember, you have to do the inverse button to get the decimal of 0.889 radians. Okay, so once again, hopefully you followed along with your calculator. If you have questions, we will definitely be addressing it in class. Feel free to send me a message beforehand if you have any questions, though.